Hi everyone, this is Sloan, and this is my permaculture design project, final project. I'm just going to go over with you the process and final plan that we came up with here. We have a residential property that is in East Austin, surrounded by streets and neighbors, and I'm looking for my base map. Well, we did have some goals to start out with, was to produce food and medicine with minimal time and money. Have some gathering spaces for adults and play spaces for kids that are in the yard. Everything must be dog friendly and dog proof because there are dogs. We need options for the next natural disaster that are off grid due to probably more natural disasters happening like the last one we just had. Supplement food from our yard and create small income from projects to just keep up on the cost of all these things. And we do want to give back to the ecosystem by having a pollinator and bird habitat. We do have a lot of skills that we can use here with physical labor and manual labor, but we don't have a ton of time and money available. So the plan is to do a slow process with some of these ideas. I'll give her my base map. So to start out, we do have a drain that comes down right here. Because of the way that the contours are on this property, the water slopes down down the path of the whole property, and I think it drops about 10 feet over the course of the whole property. So this is the contours. It's going that way. Everything's going to flow this way. We do have two trailers in the backyard that house me and another tenant, and then the main house where the kids are, and another person living in there. There's a storage container that's basically a shed. There's a bike shed with a little cedar cabana, outdoor bath area, and a laundry outdoor area. So water does bubble up from this seep when it rains really hard. It'll go down this drain and it'll enter a French drain that's already in place, and it does exit the property down by the driveway. There are quite a few trees that are already established in the property. And let me pull up the flows. Flows that we have are water, of course, is flowing down the contours, coming from the drain down down the property across down to the street. We have noise from roosters. We have neighbors that are next to very close next to each other, next to us. We have the path of humans and children and dogs is just a constant, seems to be a constant circle going around in between these trailers, all the little areas that we need to get to the house, and the dogs and the humans and kids are just constantly going through here, sometimes cutting across here to get to the other side, and then obviously down out to the gate. The sun in the summer is coming up higher, and that's making this back area very, very hot and sunny in the summer, especially late afternoon. This gets a lot of heat, and then in the winter it's a little lower, so we are getting a lot of shade down in here, and there's a lot of pockets of deep shade, like right in here, especially from this container in the alleys. Underneath some of these trees can get kind of shady in the summer. North is up here this way. Yeah. Just some first impressions is the soil is mostly clay because it's a Blackland Prairie ecoregion. But there are some areas that are of good loam because I think because maybe some previous composting in the center area where there's garden beds before. And it does get more sandy at the top, more rocky because of runoff down the slope. There's that natural seep in the beginning, very hot in the back, shady in the front. For animals, we do want to have chickens, but we can't because of the dogs. So we're going to opt to do bees and worms. And then I started listing some of the fruit trees that for fruit, what we would produce. It's going to be plum. There's already an established plum in the back. Um, Getting more lemon and lime trees that are in movable pots so they can be moved around the yard in for various seasons. There's a fig tree that's already established. I'd like to add a loquat, blackberry, agarita berries. The tuna is for cactus and grapevine. And we do want to have mushrooms, especially with the shadier areas we have. I think they would be good for mushroom beds. And so just the ideas of which mushrooms we can grow on different areas in different temperatures. And we will probably do mostly wood chips because we both get free wood chips just from our work as tree workers. So we have that accessible. Let me pull up the final map. The final plan was back here against the fence, sticking the agarita that's back here, and just kind of having stuff up against this fence because this is an alleyway and there are a lot of some people that walk back here, and just kind of making it a little bit harder for people to maybe jump this fence. The agarita is a little pokey, so and then so each house is going to have a little compost for the one for each area and a worm bin, just because we do want to try to produce worms or worm castings enough to either use in the garden or to just minor maybe selling of it to like friends and stuff or trade for other stuff with people. So each house situation is going to have their own bins, but they are going to be a little bit farther away from the house than you recommended, just because there was a rat issue at one point with the composting. So behind these fences, hopefully, will keep things at bay. Back here, it's going to be a leveled out area on the slope for like maybe a yoga platform, or just like a level spot where people can sit and like do things, or kids can read or whatever. The plums here, so we're going to have perennial and annuals kind of in just all of this garden bed space. Um, just kind of just in between the perennials, there's going to be just the regular annuals that you would grow, and just knowing like which areas micro have different climates. So up here is going to be a lot sunnier. Like lettuce is going to be constantly down here because it's a lot shadier down here. The pathways around the central garden area is just going to be going around in circles around the garden. So as people are constantly walking around, walking through, you can be picking stuff. You can be picking some weeds as you come through. You go into the laundry room. You can have access through this path around here constantly. Everything's just focused around the central like garden area to keep an eye on it. There's a little bamboo here just for some shade because the sun shining down into this trailer in the summer is super, super hot. So to kind of cover the bedroom window of this trailer is going to be a bamboo box so it doesn't get out of control. And then just some potted herbs that can stay in here. The rainwater catchment for this trailer, since we do want to try to stay off grid or be ready for the next disaster where we don't have water, is going to be kind of like a more narrow container that can fit in this little area right here. Limes have been doing good right here, so more potted like limes and lemons that can be moved when they need to be for frost or for sun or shade. Cedar Cabana is going to be just a hangout area, but then attached to it will be the little mini greenhouse, and some garden tools storage in there, so it's easy to just pop out, go to the greenhouse, get tools, and go into the middle of the garden. The tiny little bit of a rain barrel also attached to this whole situation that's going to have a covering over the top. Firewood would be stored just out of the way over here under this fig. This fig gives you a little open area for kids that like to play under it sometimes. Gambusia tub right here, just to give a water feature and mosquito control. Also to have a water for the bees that are going to be positioned up on the top of this container. So they're going to be kind of high up, but hopefully they can still get to the water source high up away from everything up here. This container is going to be decked out on the top with wood. So it can be a little bit of a hangout spot. And there will be like enough room away, just some chairs over here on this side to just kind of hang out if some people like want to go up there away from the bees to not disturb them as much. And then so there's just some potted cactus garden up here, and maybe also some like kind of like blocking the bees from noise if people are up here. Because we do like the nopales and we do like the tunas from them. So just having plenty of that up here, and we don't have to really water it up here and carry water up there if it's cactus. Shade plants and mushroom beds around here where it's going to be shady. There'd be a little cellar for storing stuff underneath that's going to go underneath this wood deck. The barbecue area, which would have a propane grill and a jet rocket stove, just from being able to have multiple sources to have cooking abilities. We want to have as many as we can. We also have a hangout area in the middle for a fire pit. And so there's going to be an outdoor tub over here with some shade, Turk's cap, and horsetail. And the idea for this little tub is going to be like a kid play tub for water or for adults. And the laundry shed, the idea is that we'll have the gray water from the laundry flowing into this biofilter, like a natural filter that it can then in turn flow into the tub, and then kind of have like maybe a little a fork here so that it doesn't overflow if we get too much, and we can redirect it to the garden. And also like a rain barrel coming to collect also off of here that can also flow into the biofilter if we need to refill the tub or use it for something else, or just have it stocked. There's a little beauty berry that'll be right here in the shade too. And then this area is just going to be storage. There's a canoe that will be stored here with access to get it out. But rainwater barrels that can fit just right in this area to keep them out of the way. The rainwater up here that would be collected off the shed would be we'll have a irrigation line that'll come down and kind of hopefully just by gravity take it down when it needs to be to water all of this. But instead of like doing like big berms and stuff, since we really don't have a ton of space, the idea here is to do some like cutoffs from this drain. This is just like a rock filled mini like creek type thing that has been built. So cutting some like cutoffs that'll go kind of with the contour, just like this is really like small. So that when this thing is flowing really hard, when it rains, it can kind of like spread it out into the garden beds instead of just taking it directly down into the street. It's like just a few of those cutoffs to try to get the water to go into the ground instead of losing it all when it rains hard. And then these are just little paths to just kind of get in, not trying to do like the whole straight garden bed situation. So just little paths so you can get in, like you can just walk through the drain to get out if you need to, or we walk down through here and then up out. Would be some trellises. We want to put a peach espalier here so it can get sun. And then just some other trellises. These trellises would be to be like a natural barrier to help keep the dogs out. So maybe some wisteria here on this trellis. It would be like a nitrogen fixer also over the garden. And then just down here, like whatever, maybe some beans. We want to do like constant chop and drop. So maybe some comfrey every mixed in everywhere that can be chopped, or just any legume that can be chopped up on here. There will be a grapevine trellis here that'll also give some shade over this pathway. Up in the front, we would have kind of a native. This is a native wildflower area near this eel pond. Gets pretty sunny, and also just kind of native pollinator plants up in here too. Under here, this is a pecan. It would be like a another additional mushroom bed that can get some shade from the house and from the pecan. Idea is that to maybe just grow enough mushrooms that could be something that could be traded or sold potentially. We do both the people that live in here. We do like making like tinctures and medicines and stuff like that. So we do want to have plenty of herbs growing in here that we can use to make stuff and potentially trade or sell that stuff too. Some of the perennials that are kind of I've written in here that are kind of going to be mixed in, just kind of like, wherever the plant speaks to us is where we'll probably stick it as long as it's a good sun location for it. But just the list of the perennial vegetables we want to have: the artichoke, horseradish, ginger and garlic, the perennial kales, ramps, asparagus, rhubarb, sorrel, and then just some listing of the plants we want to have for the dry shade areas. Most of these are the medicinals that we can use then. And the front wildflowers, we can also use some of that stuff too for medicinal space. The back, some of the herbs we definitely want to have back there, just inside this mixed area of perennial and annuals. Some of the vine areas that we want to have, vine can go over here next to a blackberry, and maybe some more cactus back up in here. The rainwater that we can potentially collect is like a lot. And I don't think we'll ever have the funds to be able to have containers to make that much to collect that much rainwater. So we're going to go for a lot smaller scale and just mostly use our rainwater for backup emergencies or for the summer watering instead of having to rely on the city water. The plan for this implementation is the first year is to get the perennials in, getting gutters installed on all the areas we want to collect rain, the trailers, the laundry shed, and get some of the 55-gallon like kind of cheap drums that can be connected to start. We need to take a beekeeping class and purchase just some small solar panels for the trailers. It's not going to be our main source of electricity, but we do want to have a backup. We will also have a generator for backup power also, but we want to have multiple. In the next couple years after that, phase out the 55-gallon drums and try to get maybe a 500-gallon for the trailers, the one on the side, and then a 200 for the one on this side. The 500 would be like the bigger area where we want to like store that stuff to water the garden with. We want to start the hive, add gutters to the house, and get even bigger rain storage on the side of the house. And then thinking out even longer, we know that we're not going to be able to probably live in this place or potentially want to forever. So the idea is by year 5 to have bought some land that's more rural. Actually, this might even be sooner than year 5. But while we're still living in the city in this situation, have that land and do kind of like the basics on the land while we're still living here. So installing like a food forest on that property, doing the earthworks and getting trees established, and maybe even getting like ag exemption by like using our knowledge of the bees to get that established at the property there. By year 10, we want to be moved out and use all the skills and materials that we've gathered at this city property and take it all to the rural place. So like all the rain barrels and the solar panels and basically everything we've kind of experimented with in this situation transfer it to the new property. And yeah, that's just what we kind of want to do. And I did have this little mind map that I used to kind of like highlight how things are going to be connected that we wanted, and things that were like non-renewable or in red that we need but are not, or things that we can't produce or trade, we'd have to go and buy. So just figuring out how everything was connected. And that's it. Yeah, hope you enjoy it. Appreciate all your feedback, and thanks.